Created on you. The securitization is the marriage certificates, the driver's license, is the mortgages, the social security, etc., the birth certificate, all bundled together in derivatives and sold as bonds on the bond market. And then they've been trading them for resources around the world and paying them in what is called UST bonds. And that has been practiced since the Civil War. That's what Pope Francis is talking about. All right? However, your so-called leaders and reverends and guys knew this too, and they should have been telling you this. This is where you see in the rights of indigenous people that Obama signed were declared in the back that they were supposed to get this information to the people at all costs in churches, civic groups, etc. And of course, you already know they have not been doing that. This is why, as this information has been coming out to you, why they have always set out trolls out to try to dismiss this information or make it sound like we're out to damn on lunch, when they are obligated by the international community to be helping to get this information out to you. So again, if you understand this, you can understand the politics. Are we clear?
Clear.
If you understand when we did the operations of the priesthood, the parasitic nature of the priesthood, etc., and the politicians, they're all pimps. And it's true. You know, that's not said to be funny. And they're partners. You know, so this is why it's important and has been important for them to promote amongst the ignorant that there was a separation of church and state when actually never was. The corporate state belongs to the church. Are we clear? And this is why all of your so-called leader guys got a 501c3 skull and bones agreement. That's an agreement not to rock the boat. And this is why they promote passivity and always some kind of passive agenda, acting like they're doing something for the community while raping them and charging them fees and always telling them that God and Jesus is broke, and so they were assigned to collect finance under the tithe operations. And the tithing was set up by Pope Sylvester II. It's a Roman tax. It ain't got nothing to do with Jesus, Muhammad, Moses, the Bible, or anyone else. It's Pope Sylvester II. And it's a Roman tax. And the reverends and the bishops and all these other guys have been beneficiaries of it, pretending that they're working for Jesus. This is again why once in a while you will see us go to the congressional records and read the secret treaty of Verona and the true oath of the clergy, which is said in Article 3, which we won't get into because we've already had that multiple times. And this is also so the trolls don't fool you and keep acting like they don't know this information or like they have no idea what we're talking about, because they absolutely do know every bit of it and more, and have paid for those degrees and have taken oaths while raping you. So the deal is you stop believing in them. When your blind faith stops existing, the fiat loses its power. And when the fiat loses its power, the T-bonds become dead paper and curl up. At that point, all of the systems that Rome has set up to steal your birthright and estate become useless exercises. That's what's happening now. Are we clear?
Clear.
So while they're creating these fungible instruments and these derivatives, it's almost like a vicious cycle because nobody's buying them anymore. So what is the ultimate operation there? Meaning that the fiat operations were palatable as long as someone was buying them. What happens when no one buys them?
Curl up.
What happens when no one buys them?
Curl up.
So the derivative instruments that they create to steal your birthright, is it practical for them to keep creating them when no one's buying them?
Nope.
Not at all.
Now, the whole system is predicated on that. So what they're doing is what they hide it by calling it quantitative easing. This is what they call it. And so it's sort of like They've got warehouses in Jersey area, where they've stacked fiat currency instruments that nobody can or will use. And this is where you see in Belgium and other nation states and in France where they have warehouses of US bonds and stuff that nobody wants. It can't continue. So this is why they did what they call, I think it's House Joint Resolution 2847. Write that down and you can check and see if the number is correct. And this is where if anything any transactions that you made with any of the banks, it's their finance, not yours. So if you insist on keep on dealing with them, know that you just gave it to them. And that as soon as this thing starts unraveling, they're going to come and you're not getting it. So get that through your head right now. So you all can decide to try to get as much as you can out while you can, because whatever you don't get out, you ain't getting. Say it again. I said, any of you, 2847, House Joint Resolution, and it's done under, it's hidden under the guise of employment. Everything they do, they'll put it under something, a title that has nothing to do with what appears that is really going on. And what it really is that the administrators of the United States Service Corporation, pretending to be congressmen and senators, made a rule of operation on their private political platform that anyone that has a bank account or puts anything in the banks, it is a gift to the banks. And the bank operators can allow you to take some out in small amounts, and if you take any large amount, etc., they will call the IRS on you, immediately investigate you like a criminal, and then under limited conditions decide to give you the fiat that they trick you into thinking is money when it's actually private commercial paper. And under any pressure where they're in any economic stress, it's theirs and it's not yours. So if you understand that, one, don't give it to them. Two, and if you've got any in it, get it out. Because I'm suggesting to you, not because I say so, probably this year probably won't finish out before you're not going to have access to it. And once that takes place, you're not going to get it. You ain't going to stop and then you get it later. You ain't going to get it. So you can decide what you want to do because you've been told. But we've been telling you this for 6 or 7 years anyway. So Europeans have been doing it. Europeans already knew this was coming. This is why you see a lot of your upper middle class Europeans have been opening up offshore accounts and getting as much fiat as they can. And then the U.S. corporation operatives, I think, what's that house? What's that, D55, something like that? Some kind of, I forget what the number is. And then they've been going into other corporate entities, which they have treaties with, and claiming over 55% of all the finance that's off the shore of people's accounts in other nation states, so that they can't escape, even if they are domiciled in other countries. If they're U.S. citizens, they're taxable. But anybody put anything in banks, it belongs to the bank, and it's a gift. So if you think it's your account, do not delude yourself, because it's not your account. You're a second party on the donor's gift that you just gave to them. They'll allow you to take some if they feel like it, and if their books are stressed, it's theirs, not yours. All right, go ahead.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on what the recruitment process actually is?
This is the recruitment process. Whenever this should be taking place from the beginning. When, like say, when someone signs what they're calling a mortgage and stuff like that. Keep this in mind. Let's identify instruments. Whenever a so-called mortgage is instituted, and you're a signatory, you are actually the creditor, not the debtor. They will list you on the debtor side of their ledgers though, and will list themselves who are receiving an asset from you, and including your signature, that they monetize and they start using it. At that time, it becomes an asset instrument for them. Therefore, you, in fact, are the grantor of that instrument, and you're actually drawing off your own future labor and estate. That's not stated to you. Are we clear? Now, you're supposed to, they're not telling you, you're supposed to command that they produce for you the deed of trust and the warranty of the deed, the warranty deed. And since 1913, under Woodrow Wilson, they converted all allodial titles into mortgages and deeds. Logically, you would recoup the instrument because they started using it. So you demand them give it back to you because now you have right to all proceeds. Because now it becomes an instrument that's generating fiat on the market. All right. So they're really the debtor, and you're actually the creditor, and they switch places. So the article that I did on the flash drive that you give people, you see the reversion of article. And this is the position that you take consciously. Now, let me express this with you by going on to this. And respect the killers. Can you give that to me? This is on the flash drive for those who get the flash drive from me. All right. Excuse me, you all. The reversion, and now when you're dealing with mortgages and things like that, the promissory note that they're using, that's what they make securities out of, and they separate it. This is another reason that they will do what's called the transfer to another third party trustee, and they'll send you in the mail that you have a new mortgage company that they sold it to. And so, meanwhile, they're acting as agent for you, and then you still so-called paying them, but actually it's a dedonus. That's why you see dedonus on the instruments. And of course you were a tenant, and you have not rebutted that. And therefore you've abandoned the estate. And then by them being automatically the trustees, etc., and the grantor on the grantor side, and you didn't ask for it back, they say that you've abandoned it. That's why all foreclosures are called abandonments. Are we clear? You need to know what they're doing in order to understand what you should be doing. This is why in the last few years that we've been emphasizing people to establish a trust. And why? And this is also why we've done a few lectures on the conversion and the global estate trust, and explain to you what they did after the fall of the Red House and why they did it, which leads up to what you're seeing right now, which is securities. All of these things are connected. And logically, this stuff cannot be given in one lecture. And so we will redundantly state certain things and establish certain things with you so that other information we give you later makes sense to you. But it's sort of like, before giving you some mathematical equation, we ask you, can you add and subtract? And then when you say, well, yes, then we can go on to the next step. But what you discover is that people will say that they understand things and comprehend, and then upon a test, they clearly don't. This is another reason why we did the issue on juris consult and the restoration of consular courts. Because you must be competent. And of course, because our people have been trained in belief systems for so many generations, only on their own time can they come to the point of purging themselves of that belief mentality and actually start dealing with facts. So we constantly give them facts, and give them reference points so they can recognize these people know this stuff all the time. In other words, we give you their own records to show you that they know this stuff. Because most people will think that this is a belief system because that's what is promoted. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And these people on both sides are living off of you, living off your virtues, etc. So with understanding what they've done to you and how they do it, you're better enabled to reclaim your estate that you didn't know exists. You know, but if the people aren't connected, if they're still speaking themselves in third person, no matter what information they have, they're still incompetent. This is again why we keep telling people stop claiming to be black, stop calling it European white. It's not just that they're grammatical errors, but they are status conditions. And if your status is dead, your claim of estate is dead. And we're telling you that, but it has to not just make sense to you. You need to know the relationship for real. Not because we say so, because that's how things are operating. So, when you create mortgages and marriage certificates and stuff like that, and birth certificates, if you're not aware that they're fungible instruments and converted into securities, you never approach it from that perspective. And therefore, your silence is called consent. No, it's not fair, but that's how they're operating. Are we clear? Go ahead.
There's a question where...
Get in the mic. I can't hear you.
Question, person says having bought the house, there's no mortgage. It's paid.
See, now stop.
Well,
We got to, no, stop. See, what we have to do is that we have to correct the misconceptions in the first place because you keep saying you bought the house and you didn't buy the house.
Well,
Listen, these are assumed positions. You can't, if a person asks a loaded question or a question that's founded in a false presumption, you can't answer it without corrupting it more because it must be corrected. The assumption that they bought the house is a wrong assumption. Are we clear?
clear.
It can only be discharged or set off. Are we clear? Now look at this. Let me show you something. This is law. This is what's in operation.
So you're not going to answer the question?
All right. This is what's happening. As a matter of fact, we're right here. See this reversioner position in reference to United States Code 12, subsection 95A. 12, United States Code, subsection 95A, regulation of transactions in foreign exchange of gold and silver, property transfers, vested interests, enforcement, and penalties. Part 2. Current through Public Law 113 to 163, see public laws for the current Congress. And understand public law, all right, public law, it implies constitutional principle. Public policy actually implies the corporate operations, are we clear? So they're obligated to this. Any payment, conveyance, transfer, assignment, or delivery of property or interest therein made to or for the account of the United States or as otherwise directed pursuant to this section or any rule, regulation, or instruction or direction issued hereunder shall to the extent thereof be a full acquittance and discharge for all purposes of the obligations of the person making the same. And no person shall be held liable in any court for or in respect to anything done or omitted in good faith in connection with the administration of or in pursuance of and in reliance on this section or any rule, regulation, or direction issued hereunder. Acquittance is a written discharge whereby one is freed from an obligation to pay money or perform a duty. Discharge differs from a release in not requiring to be under seal. Discharge, perhaps while not strictly speaking, is synonymous with receipt. So when they give you a receipt, it's actually a discharge. You're not paying anything. It can't be paid because they stole your gold. and the obligation belongs to the United States, not to you. But what they've done is switch places and made you a debtor when by law they have no right to do this. This is why by law securitization is a fraud. Are we clear?
Clear.
Go ahead.
Okay, with that in mind, once you have discharged your mortgage, how do you stop a city from taxing?
Because it's hypothecated. Now, and this is again the discharge. Now listen, this is what occurs. And what did Woodrow Wilson do, and then what did Franklin Delano Roosevelt do? And then what did they do after the bankruptcy of the United States Corporation Company? They claimed to have jurisdiction over you as sovereign government. Are we clear? And then the governors of the different corporate states, these are the states of, distinguished from state republics, pledged all properties to the Federal Reserve. Now I'm going to go to Tropicon's speech on the floor, right? But first I want to finish this so you can see there's a discharge and there's a set-off. You can't pay because that's what actually takes place. This is what the representatives of law firms and mortgage companies have been doing. They've been taking charge of your estate, setting it off in your name, and thus being by default the administrators of your estate. Since you don't have an estate, you haven't set up a trust, you haven't reverted the mortgage or the deed or the warranty deed back into an allodial status, which all of them existed before 1913, and then most of you are not operating in your proper person, so you don't have right of the estate anyway, and now it reverts to the corporate state under feudal law, which is what the U.S. democracy is. And the governors of all of the corporate states pledged your labor and your property to the Federal Reserve while pretending to be government, and you have not refuted it. Thus, you've abandoned your estate. I'm telling you exactly how it happens. Now, go to congressional records and look at what Franklin Delano Roosevelt did and look what Woodrow Wilson did before him. They pledged your estate and your labor to the Federal Reserve. Now, not being in your proper person, which the brother read, you don't have a standing already. And such persons called Negro, Black, and Colored are already wards of the state under the Christian Black codes. They haven't spoken up, they haven't nationalized, so they have no estate. So automatically they're in a wardship status, so even the children belong to the state. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? They don't even need a court order. They're chattels. And since they have not spoken up, that's called abandonment. That's why all foreclosures are abandonments. Are we clear?
Clear.
So the first thing that we must be clear even when we're asking questions, because the questions are legitimate, but it indicates that they don't understand or haven't listened to the foundation information we set up while we opened this thing up. Because there's an assumption of ownership that doesn't exist. There's an assumption of payment that didn't happen. Are we clear? So we're taking you to their own records and showing you that it's discharged and set off. That's what occurs. You're not paying anything. It's already paid. But the obligation is on the United States and their subdivisional agencies. And what they've done is they converted it on you and you haven't refuted it or commanded recoupment of the instruments that they're using in your name. In other words, you haven't rebutted the straw. And people who are beginning to understand this on different levels are trying, this is why you see different people in different organizations around the country trying to, what you call, capture or reclaim the marriage certificates and rescind them and take control of them, and the birth certificates and rescind them. They call it taking control of the straw man, and they run into all kinds of difficulties. Why? Because that is their bond system. Because the people themselves are the stock. And they're finally starting to figure it out, if you understand. But we prepared the people by telling them for years to nationalize, telling them for years to set up an estate, even giving examples to do it, and then making it public, knowing that they're going to get resistance. But if they err in any situation, shows competence and are essentially telling the trustees, even though they're belligerent, that you do not agree with their operations. Whatever instruments they have in the name that sounds like yours becomes dead paper, and so they can't continue to sell it. They never allow you to capture it. They will never give you any original birth certificates or original anything. They will give you certified copies, and them things stay on the stock market, because if they produce them, they would have signatures forever. Even when people pass form, the QSIC number on the Social Security number with the bond transfers that's on the stock market will still be used even after people lose their physical body.
Islam.
Because it's an estate on the Moorish Empire that's under occupation with Moors that want to be black, don't want to be themselves, which allows the European to just go wild on their estate that they don't even know they have. Do you understand? And so when they assume and start talking about they bought things or that they own things, they're operating from misinformation even with the question, which means they have not been listening. It does not mean they're not morally or ethically correct in their approach to the question, but they still don't understand the politics. They don't get it. And in law, they're still declared incompetent. And an incompetent person is a minority. They can't argue contract. Dred Scott again. And we know that we have a right to a certain amount of dignity. We know we're intelligent beings. However, absence of information and your general intelligence may not always be considered equals. You know, and we need to humble ourselves and start studying those things that are screwing us every day and stop going on emotions and assumptions. And one of the greatest injuries to the negative is people who assume that they're educated. And I understand that all of us suffer from this. People assume that they can read. They assume that they're educated because Rockefeller Foundation gave them a degree, even though they publicly, in their philosophy, and they get public, that they're going to dumb these people down. And then people will send their children there, get degrees, and really think they are educated. When they tell you that they're going to dumb you down, they don't even hide it, but they know that these people can't read and won't read. But they'll start a whole bunch of Negro organizations like they love their children. The children of self-esteem. And we'd rather start some Negro organizations to march and pray and make things for our children to make them a better education. And we're going to go to the parent-teachers meeting and stuff, and so the curriculum can be improved for the children for years. They ain't going to teach these monkeys. They even call them monkeys. They say Negro, and they say it means African identity. It means monkey. You know, and then they'll defend that, and they'll assume that that's identity and approach the world like the world accepts it as identity. They know it's property. And ignorance of the law is no excuse. And I'm saying that not to knock, because all questions are good. But the reason why, even when we open up, we ask people certain questions about things, about the fundamentals, even the things that we're talking about.
Yes.
And what do you see in a crowd of maybe 30, 40 people? You'll see 3 people raise their hand. Which means we're asking not to challenge, this is open. This is so that you can see your own absence of information. We tell you why we're telling you this information. We don't load it. We don't come from a side angle. We tell you why we're giving you this information. Then we'll give you a reference. Then we'll tell you what's happening. Then we'll tell you what they're doing and how they're doing it, so that you don't assume a position that doesn't exist with you. That's your miseducation. See, we're giving you the facts so that you can recognize your miseducation. We're not trying to call you miseducated. We're not trying to say that you're dumb. We're telling you that you are absent of vital information that affects your life. We will show you documentation, congressional records, historical fact, law book to show you what's going on. It is incumbent upon you to either listen to it or dismiss it. But after getting this information, certain questions should be modified, which means now that you know these things, you shouldn't assume that you paid a damn thing, because you haven't. And what we're telling you, that's how they're dealing with you when you're approaching your arguments. They will get you to talk about money and payment when it's not what's going on. It's conversion taking place on the Sister QV trust that's being entered into and exited out of by corporate operatives who are really deputy knights for the Pope of Rome. And they get you to start talking things that they educated you in that has nothing to do with what's going on. So nobody really came and told you, gave you the keys to what's really going on, and the people haven't taken it serious. And so they haven't really studied it properly, except for a few people that have put their necks on the line and started telling the things like it really is, and digging up information and showing people exactly what's happening to them, and telling the people, and right after you tell them, they'll turn around and ask a question that's contrary to the information you just given. Now, whereas we will do the best we can to answer and to explain this information, understand that someone's your enemy, they're not going to tell you this, they just seize advantage at that point. No different than you in the boxing ring, as soon as you start taking selfies, they punch you in your eye. So don't go to the corner talking about the ref jumped me. No, the ref didn't jump you. You was taking selfies, but you was in the ring like they ain't gonna punch you in your eye. And this is basically what happens to us. We go out into the world lacking knowledge of civics, trying to do civic things, keep losing, and then calling it racism. Because the leader guy says it's racism. And he's working for the man. And you don't get it. You know, so let's go as an example. Now, acquittance is a written discharge whereby one is freed from an obligation. So what does that mean? Freed from an obligation to pay money or perform a duty. Why? Because they took your gold and silver, which is the money. You were under occupation. At what point you don't get it? You've been told from third grade that European settlers are what? Coming to the land, to North America. And now the people call them Americans. So that means you gave them right on your land. Then you call him white man, which means sovereign. Law books say he ain't white man. Moors are white people. It's a legal status. But we want to be black, and we want to call him then man because he act like it. So you call him sovereign, he act like it, now you want to march and pray. You're the heir, you just assigned him. So what you mad about? And the ignorance of that doesn't excuse you.
That's right.
Since particularly we always talk about, we know Jesus, God, Allah, Moses, you know all this stuff. How come you ain't got peanut butter sandwiches? You always ask somebody to make peanut butter sandwiches, and you always got personal relationship. But you got all this going on. You always will have all these 59,000 rights organizations. Because after all, clearly you're saved. No, I'm serious. No, I'm just saying this. We need to understand this is what the world is telling us. And what we're trying to tell our people is we got to stop being naive, and we got to stop being self-righteous, and we got to start dealing with actual knowledge. Beliefs are not going to get it. The people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. But they keep on taking on belief systems. And the stuff don't work. They won't render it back to Caesar. Then they keep going out in the ring, get punched in the eye, and talk about the ref jumped me. Ref didn't jump you, couldn't jab. You was in there taking selfies. So they say, well, hey, hands down. Boop. That's all that's happening. They're stealing your birthright because we won't deal with it. That's what's really happening. Are we clear?
Clear.
And we can take people to the congressional records, show them the oath of the clergy. And they'll turn around and say that they're delivering these people to Jesus when the record says they're submitting these people to the Pope. The official name of Christianity is the Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed, can not only be found by any scholar, it's in an ordinary dictionary, and yet they let black leaders come in here and tell them that they're delivering these people to Jesus. And they got a 501c skull and bones agreement. It's known. And these people are worshiping Constantine, claim to worship Jesus, which is why the reverends won't tell them that the official name of Christianity is the Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed, because it's obvious that they're worshiping Constantine. And then wonder why their communities are poor. They're funding their own damn enslavement. But they're going to tell you they know God, Jesus, and they got personal relations. They got all these sandwiches going on. They're wealthy. And then wonder why the rest of the civilized world don't come here and school us. Why? Because we're too damn arrogant. Act like we saved, Jesus made us, don't know nobody else, we're saved. Well, you got all this going on, this is what the world is really telling us. What y'all complain about? How come y'all got 59,000 rights organizations since y'all saved? That's a contradiction. All the salvation going on in this community, why is it so miserable? Families falling apart, youth dying younger and younger. They taking your stuff on the streets, abusing you, stealing your houses. But you say you're full of doo-doo, and you need to come to that realization on your own. Because the rest of the world ain't feeling sorry for us because we so damn self-righteous. Right or wrong?
Right.
Now, it is no secret. This information is not a secret. Just like you read the letter from George Washington, they'll turn around and lie to the babies talking about he's the first president. That ain't no mystery stuff dug up from under the pyramids of Egypt. That's contemporary history. Are we clear?
Clear.
George Washington said, he's thanking the Sultan for what? Commerce on your dominions. You're standing on Moroccan dominions. And they keep on saying, it's the white man's land. Europeans. And we're submitting to him. Well, if you're a great white father, then you act like it, then you're mad. We're full of doo-doo, and we need to take responsibility. Point is, we will give people foundational information so that they can discern and make their own decisions. Because you're going to be held to this irregardless. So, discharge, acquittance. Now, these people keep talking about the Bible, the Quran, the Wasi, and they know all these books, and they know what the ancient Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was doing, what he said, Hadith. They know Yahshua, they claim to be Hebrews, and they know all this stuff, and don't even know current law that's screwing their lives up every day. How dare them keep talking about the ancient gods and can't talk current? How dare them claim to love gods they do not see and love not their brothers and sisters they see every day? How dare them talk about Nibiru and the planetary operations in the universe and they don't even know the fundamental laws and rules that operate this small sphere that we call Earth? How dare they transact business in another man's name and wonder why they don't own shit? You know, let's be real. And then ask questions that indicate they ain't caught on yet. And so the world's not going to feel sorry for us. It's like, you know, when Yahshua said, talk about Lazarus, get up from the rich man's feet. What is he really saying? You got in the state. What are you begging about? That's what the lesson is really about Lazarus. Get your lazy ass up and stop begging. You so saved. And same with Peter, who claimed to be Jesus' boy. Yeah, I'm your boy, man. You know, we can roll like tight and all this stuff. So you all, yeah, you got all this. Yeah, I know all this stuff and everything. I know it's oh, good. Get out the boat, Peter. Walk the water. You got this down. You an addict now. You got this going on. Peter said, yeah, you know, we tight. And he said, well, get out the boat, Peter. Walk the water. You bad. You know, Peter got out and he started sinking, so Jesus pulled him up because he was lying. I mean, he claiming to know what he don't damn know. Stop faking it. That's what he's saying. Stop fronting. It's not that it ain't there for you, but don't front. That's what the lesson is. The people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. We're giving people knowledge so they cannot say it's belief. We're giving them reference. So you cannot pay. As you can see, this debt and responsibility is that of the United States, not of you. Are we clear? Now, let me see if we can find the reversion of statement. And this is back to what we be saying to people in general. And then I'm going to go to the Trafficant speech. This is a breach of trust statement. Go ahead, good brother. Try to get the mic because we want you on the tape. Now, as a reminder, let's go to the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, and just look at this. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debt, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. So what are people being buried under? Bills of credit that are unconstitutional in the first place, and those credit bills belong to the corporate state in their private operations for the Jesuit order. The debt is not yours, the debt is theirs. And they're converting their debt to you, which is another reason why they use the brand system and get you to agree to be Negro, Black, and Colored, Smith, Jones, and Johnson, so that whatever you buy or sell with the mark or the number of their name is state property. They even make clothes state property, and our people think it's cool. You know, so, and but me, if they know Jesus, God, Allah, Moses, if they know all this stuff, they shouldn't be falling for this mundane crap. All right, let's go to Trafalgar's speech, and I'll get with you in a minute, brother, because I want to answer some of these things which are very, very important for concept-wise for these people. Let me see, let's go to Trafalgar. Those who understand this know that they murdered Trafalgar a couple years ago, and said that his tractor accidentally rolled over on him. Let me see. Now, and keep in mind, and this is why a lot of times we'll do certain things redundantly, and we try to get you to pay attention to timelines. Now, answer this openly, solidly, clearly. What year officially did Raleigh set up the old Canaanite temple for the restoration of the lost estate? Say it, I didn't hear you.
1913.
Still didn't hear you. Always say it loud. What year?
1913.
AD, right?
AD.
All right. Now, when we go into the congressional record, keep in mind this is congressional record. So for people to keep saying that they don't understand none of this stuff and that it has nothing to do with you or any other trolling operations that they've been doing to try to dismiss this information, this is why we give people congressional records and other things so that their arguments have no standing. Are we clear? But always understand that when anything is put out to start liberating people, troll operations are automatic. They're not circumstantial and they're not secondary. So first I want to read the reversioner statement that you would make in relationship to recoupment or commanding, or you can add within a request for them to return all instruments back to you. That's why when we did the reversion, not only the reversioner, but the questionnaire that you send to the barristers and to the law firms and to the so-called mortgage companies, you tell them to send a check to you, that they didn't send a check to you when they do those 192s. And then 192s is when they start sending you mail, talking about they're going to sell your property or something like that. You're supposed to rebut it and tell them to send you back the instruments and the check that's supposed to be you're supposed to recoup what they have made off. That would be a restoration or recoupment. If you never make those kind of statements, they're still claiming that you abandoned your estate, even though you're in the house. As if you're not even there. Then they charge you with trespassing on what you think is your property. And this is why these things must be done from the door. You know, you must set for the record these things that protect you from the beginning. Anyway, I, and then your attribute. The living, sentient woman, man, and rightful heir, and not lost at sea. So you're telling them you're not lost at sea. So this is a counter to unum sanctum. And I affirm and declare my right of reversion of estate. The estate would include the house, all things on it, any accoutrements, etc., stream that comes through it, leaves that fell on it, and the squirrel that's running up the tree. All right? And therefore I make no claim with respect to the title and misrepresented capitalized name Man of Straw and Nam de Gear being a title, and the spurious creation of the foreign de facto United States corporation operators, actors, and owners. And I surrender and assign any and all reversionary interests to the foreign privately owned United States and its subsidiaries for full acquittance, discharge, settlement, and closure of my reliance Title 12 USC 95A. That's what I just read earlier, Part 2. I assume no liabilities or debts, however contrived, among its corporate associates, and I do not consent to stand as surety for the foreign, private, and for-profit United States Incorporated U.S. Corporation Company entity owners, directors, or their administrators, nor do I stand as surety for its subsidiaries or its associates at any point or moment in time. Is that not a lockout? All right? Now you understand securities and securitization. They hold you as surety for their private debt. And so if you rebut it, now they have obligation on the rule of trustee, even if they're belligerent, to release the estate to the heir. But our people don't claim to be heirs, do they?
Nope.
They claim to be black, don't they?
Yep.
They don't claim to be Moors, Bays, and Neals. They claim to be Smith, Joseph, Johnson, don't they?
Yeah.
They have no standing at law. They have no estate. This is not complex. Go ahead and answer the question.
That was kind of one of my questions. Once we step up, inappropriate.
Not once you step up, that you step up. You start setting up a standard for you to have an argument. That's what, now go from there.
Okay, impropriate persona.
In your proper person. That means being yourself.
Sue juries, sue her, etc.
Yes, you have standard and argument.
Once I make a claim as an heir, not just on
No, being heir.
being an heir.
See, that's not as of, being the heir.
Okay, so once
So
I make
add, wait a minute, I want you to get clear.
okay.
When we start talking like that, that's kind of like we're acting at the moment. You're not as you. You're being you. Being heir. Once you acknowledge being the heir. I acknowledge being the heir. I now have standing. Now hear me. That's what you're saying.
Okay.
So now you're telling them what to do.
Right.
You don't ask them shit.
So when I make a
You
claim,
know, you got to start talking like you know what you're talking
all
about.
right, so when I make a claim, not just on property or an estate that I may be currently domiciling in, just property that may be over there, that's just over there. Once I make a claim on it, being the heir, I'm just making sure that, I just want to be clear that I can do that.
You can do that, but that's not what you should seek to do. You should seek to secure what you want. See, this is what we suggest to people. When people start finding this information, now they want to go get the building across the street and claim all this. Stop that. Claim what your family is. Start securing that.
So I can
Start
claim my apartment.
securing that. In other words, like this. This is where, and it's not that you can't do that. What happened is, as soon as they discover they got training wheels, they want to get on I-95 so they take the training wheels off. I'm getting in the race. You know? Get off I-95 with your tricycle. It don't mean that you can't get on. Don't do that. You know, it's like you learn how to box. And he's going, I can't wait for Mike. I suggest you don't do that. Well, he ain't been boxing for a minute, and I got this. It's not a good idea. And it's not that you can't get it like that, but don't think that way. Go to the gym and spar, get yourself together and work this stuff out, you know. You go do some katas and stuff and start learning how to stand straight. You know, but don't start playing Bruce Lee because you probably won't come home limping. But the deal is start winning. Start taking incremental steps. Teach other people. Join in strength. Liberate other people. And those little nitpicks is what gets the lion. You know, it's like in the book of Daniel where it talks about, you know, legs of iron, feet of clay. what it's really telling you, don't start going and punching that beast in the chest and brass and all this stuff and break your knuckles. Do what a child would do. Oh, we got clay feet. It's very simple. Then his own weight pulls him down. What it's trying to tell you, this stuff is simple. We keep trying to make this stuff complex. And we make it complex for ourselves. It doesn't mean you don't have a right to do that. The deal of it is, you get this information, start working it. Start commanding reversion of the state. Start setting up your trust. See, because if there's a claim, there exists already a counter to their assumed hypothecation that's already in place. This is the whole deal. There's an assumed hypothecation already in place. The corporate governors, who are really secretly trustees and administrators of the global estate trust for the Popes of Rome, have already pledged your labor and your properties under the mortgages already to the bankers. So now you're talking about I got deed. Well, you just said that you were what? A renter. So if you didn't know that since 1913 they converted these things, then you must not be in there because you don't know your culture. Because if you knew your culture and yourself, you knew that they did this to counter the withdrawal. So now you're incompetent. And they have first claim. And they're operating on that claim. If you didn't know that, well, I made my payments. No, you didn't. You're a lying ass. Because you can't pay with private security. Well, I didn't know that. Well, then that means you're incompetent. So you're given this information to make you competent. You're given the history to know what they did so that when you step, you're starting to step competently. And if you have knowledge, you don't have to be afraid because now you know you can count. 2 and 2 is 4. Oh, but we get ready to go to China, and I think it changes. No, it don't damn change. Once you understand these principles, don't change. So what are we dealing with? Fundamental principles, maxims of ethics, maxims of law, universal principle. When it stops being universal, look for the lie. These degrees are not for believers. These degrees are for knowers. These are for liberators. You're being liberated. You're not being brought into a belief system. Are we clear?
Clear.
So you're given facts. So let's go to, say, Traficant's claim. Let's look at this. And so we're even giving you, even the names of the instruments that they use. Now here's James Traficant, right? Now he was, as you already know, the representative for Ohio, right? But let's go into his speech on the floor of Congress. Now you already know this, and most of you already know this, but let's put this in context. Now, so we see this is United States Congressional Record, March 17, 1993. And for those of you who have been studying it all, you already know the Clearfield Doctrine. You already know why it exists. You already know about the COINTELPRO operations later set up by J. Edgar Hoover, Calvin Coolidge. You already know the sale of the bankrupt platform to the Jesuits of Jekyll Island with Woodrow Wilson. You already know the crash, again, that was made and then re-registered in 1925. Which we've given you all their registration papers. So it ain't speculation. All right? So let's go from the beginning. United States Congressional Record, March 17, 1993, volume 33, page H-1303. Speaker, Representative James Traficant, Jr., Representative of Ohio, addressing the House. Mr. Speaker, we are here now in Chapter 11. Members of Congress are official trustees presiding over the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity in world history, the U.S. government. We are setting forth, hopefully, a blueprint for our future. There are some who say it is a corner of the report that will lead to our demise. It is an established fact that the United States federal government has been dissolved by the Emergency Banking Act, March 9, 1933, 48 Statute 1, Public Law 89-719, declared by President Roosevelt, being bankrupt and insolvent. House Joint Resolution 192, 73rd Congress in session, June the 5th, 1933. joint resolution to suspend the gold standard and abrogate the gold clause, dissolve the sovereign authority of the United States and the official capacities of all United States governmental officers, and departments, and is further evidence that the United States federal government exists today in name only. So they're telling you the whole platform is a fraud. It don't even damn exist, and yet they're still exercising that power. So your absence of knowing this, does it excuse you? If these people know about Jesus, God, Allah, when the Beerus coming through, the Nephilim, the Greys, and shapeshifters, they know all this stuff. They should know what's going on here, right? So now let's go down into the speech. Let's go down into the speech and let's look at some of the transfer. Now, let's look at this paragraph here. Gold and silver, which we already know, we read earlier, the Constitution, right? Their obligation. Gold and silver was such a powerful money during the founding of the United States of America that the founding fathers declared that only gold and silver coins can be money in America. Since gold and silver coinage were heavy and inconvenient for a lot of transactions, they were stored in banks and a claim check was issued as a money substitute. So the original greenbacks were claim checks. What the bills that they gave you were checks. They weren't the money, they were checks. Now they're 3 times removed, and people get other instruments, promissory notes, and they're calling them checks, which shows you they still don't understand the monetary system to this very day. Oh, you wrote a check. Ain't a check. That bill that you call in cash was the check. And that ain't the money. You know, this is a congressional record, understand? All right. Now, people traded their coupons as money or currency. So they traded them as money. And in that status or state, it's called currency. But it's not money. Don't get this confused. Right? Currency is not money. Can y'all say that together? Currency is not money. Keep on reading. But a money substitute. That's Mike's way of saying counterfeit. Redeemable currency must promise to pay a dollar equivalent in gold or silver money. Federal Reserve notes, FRNs, make no such promises and are not money, quote unquote. A Federal Reserve note is a debt obligation of the federal United States government, not money. The federal United States government and the U.S. Congress were not and have never been authorized by the Constitution for the United States of America to issue currency of any kind, but only lawful money, gold and silver coin. It is essential that we comprehend the distinction between real money and paper money substitute. One cannot get rich by accumulating money substitutes. One can only get deeper into debt. We the people no longer have any money. Most Americans have not been paid any money for a very long time, perhaps not in their entire life. Now do you comprehend why you feel broke? Now do you understand why you are bankrupt along with the rest of the country? So what do the bankers and the mortgage companies get you start doing? Get you start saying that you made a payment or that you got money and immediately you lied and they hold you to it. That's why they keep beating you. Do you understand? Now, Federal Reserve notes are unsigned checks written on a closed account. Do we need to go any further? This congressional records. So if you know these things and we've been telling you these things, your language must change. If you don't change your language, they keep beating you. So we're telling you, we're showing you the game, but we can't make people listen, can we? Can we?
Nope.
We can tell them. Then, whereas we try to correct each other, when you get out in the real world, they want to take advantage of you. Well, but some people well, guess what? You ain't excused, so don't start talking about it. Because you've been talking about Jesus and gods and all this stuff. You're not excused. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Why? It begins with you. It begins with your inherited right. And if you don't know your rights, you ain't got none. So when they tell you stop bitching and complaining, come with that BS because it's not acceptable. Get over yourself, drop your ego, and start dealing with knowledge. Now let's go to let's go past this. And all of you have this on your flash drive with the information we've given you. Now let's look at this part here, and remember the Act of 1781, which we told you about, all right? And this is what they did in 1781, 2, and 3. Federal Reserve system is based on the canon law. So the popes of Rome set this system up. You're really working with the Jesuit order. Now, if you didn't know that, that's tough cookies. All right? All right? And the principle of sovereignty protected in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. In fact, the international bankers used a canon law trust as their model. So what happens if you don't have a trust? And they've already hypothecated a claim on your estate, and you don't set up a trust. And then you start talking about what you own. And it's already been hypothecated.
You ain't got jack.
Isn't that a lien? Isn't that a first lien? Huh? And then these people turn around and say they're black and Negro, and then they say they're U.S. citizens. Well, guess what? There you go. You just volunteered into that platform. Anyway, as their model, adding stock and naming it a joint stock trust. The U.S. Congress had passed a law making it illegal for any legal person, quote unquote, to duplicate a joint stock trust. This was done in 1873. The Federal Reserve Act was legislated post facto to 1870. Isn't that when the Europeans start calling themselves free white people?
Yes, yes.
Isn't that harmonic with what Ulysses Grant did? This is why you got to pay attention to timelines. That's why we give you all this information. You got to be thinking on your feet. Though post facto laws are strictly forbidden by the American Constitution, that's why it was necessary for them to set up that fraud demo platform, because they can't do it under the Republic. So if you assume that they're government, you just agree that they're administrators of your trust. Are we clear? And even this knowledge, you understand the Clearfield Doctrine? Why the Clearfield Trust Company representatives won? Because they know this. And they wouldn't let them put this Negro codes on them. You understand? All right. Now, the Federal Reserve the Federal Reserve system is a sovereign power structure separate and distinct from the federal United States government. And how many people turn around and say it's the government said? So they keep giving them their power, don't they? Now, look at this, and this is what's important. This is what's important. Again, when the Noble Raleigh set up the organized temple for the restoration of the estate, what year?
1913.
All right, so now look at this. Prior to 1913, most Americans owned clear, read it y'all, allodial title to property. Read that again. Prior to 1913, most Americans owned clear, allodial title to property, free and clear of any liens or mortgages until the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 hypothecated all property within the federal United States to the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, in which the trustees, stockholders held title. The U.S. citizen tenant franchisee was registered as a beneficiary to the trust via his or her birth certificate in 1933. Do we need to go any further? So if you've been told this, and you think we're BSing you when we keep telling people for years to set up a trust and claim your estate and nationalize, and they don't take it serious, they have a right not to. Well, it's already hypothecated, so they don't make a claim, so it's an abandonment, isn't it? So if they got a mortgage and deed, that's not a title of ownership, they're sharecropping. Because owners have allodial title. Now, if you don't know what that is, 12 cookies. That ain't ancient Egyptian history, is it? You don't need to talk about Hotep, do we? We don't need to talk about metaphysical analysis of things. Do we need all that? This is contemporary congressional record. All scholars know this. All politicians know this. Why do black leaders stay away from this? Because they want to keep these people marching and praying and paying their 501c3 tithing agreements that they think has to do with Negro rights, which is monkey, and monkeys don't have human rights. At what point these people don't get it? And then when we tell people why you declare your nationality, because you're dealing within the state. Why we tell them about the treaties? Because you're dealing within the state. You're under occupation. You don't have to accept this information, but you can't say that you weren't told. And you can't say that you weren't shown the information. So when people ask questions that contradict that they understand this, in law, they're still held as incompetent. Are we clear? And as long as they demonstrate incompetence, they're wards of the state. And as long as they're wards of the state, all their labor, all of their rights, all of their property is already hypothecated to the Jesuits through the Federal Reserve. And then they give them their private commercial paper and tell them it's money, and they agree that it's money. Now they lie. Now they're liable and accepted the debt that's actually debt notes on a closed account that belongs to them. They got a damn thing to do with you. Are we clear? So when you know these things, you change your language, don't you? And your questions will change, won't they? Because you will demonstrate that you're competent. What occurs when you start demonstrating competence? It starts killing the bonds that are out there in the name that sounds like yours. It's all it takes to slay the dragon. I'm gonna go capture the strawman. Okay. If somebody sold me patents, it only cost me $1,500. You can't buy yourself a birthright. What point you don't understand this? You know, and we have this continuation over and over again. You cannot capture the straw. You must choke it. You understand? And you ain't going to go up to Goliath and tell him, going to be my stuff. I'm saying, you know, he goes, ow. That's what happens. So if you just took your training wheels off, you're not ready for the race, but, you know, stay on the sideline, look how they roll, how they move, you know, practice a little bit, you know, go out there a little bit, but ain't nobody on the track, and you just all together, doing all things like that. But don't get out there and start claiming stuff. Claim what you are standing on. Starting with yourself, are we clear? How do you claim yourself? Declare your nationality, because the nativity indicates a right of claim of inheritance. It begins at that point. It's not the end all, it begins. Meaning that you now have standing to even make an argument. Now you better know what the hell you're talking about. You see the point? You understand? It doesn't mean that the right isn't there. You have to understand they're belligerent. They're stealing your birthright. It's not that they don't know it. It's not that they don't recognize it. They're not acknowledging. Because it means Susie ain't going to college no more. It means that second house in the Poconos is going to go under. But what do we get caught up in? Trying to grab it. Stop that. Be patient. No, don't. When I say be patient, don't mean don't lay down like a carpet. Understand that you're dealing with a monster. A beast. Like for real. So it's going to take the whole world, the Asiatic world, to start turning their back on the harlot and let her burn. What do they keep doing? Well, see, the house is on fire. See, but, you know, the bedroom up there in the east corner? That ain't on fire, so let's go upstairs. No, get out the house. Yeah, but the room up there, that ain't on fire. The bedroom ain't on fire. You go in the bedroom. No, it's not a good idea. We keep on trying to find a comfort zone in a house that's falling. Everybody's package and stuff like that. You say, I'm putting my hands on this bottomless pit account. No, you're not. Yeah. They ain't got it. And so this was happening. China, Manchurian nations, and other nation states are calling on all of their debt and then no longer funding them. So they have to steal Japan's pensions accounts, anything that's a vassal state. And this is what's been going on. You know, even stealing that gold in New York and saying Muslims stole it with some box cutters and took over the intelligence industry and all, and then took over NSA and everything with box cutters out of a cave in Afghanistan. And then took firecrackers and knocked them buildings down and stuff. You know, and people believe that, you know, but whatever. But no, what occurred was Germany came for their gold. They told them no. And a month later, the buildings fall down. They say Muslims did it to try to get people fighting with each other so they could go in Afghanistan and in Libya and other places and steal their gold and disrupt the Muslim world and then blame them for terrorism when it really is the Constantinians pretending to be Christians. That's what's going on in the world. Now, your deal is stop falling for the game. Stop falling for the game. They don't even acknowledge the sovereignty of nations. So what made you think you're going to follow UCC 1 claim and they're going to transfer the state to you? When they won't even acknowledge their number one ally, which is Germany. Therefore, the beast must come down. The beast is what? Incorrigible. So you starve the beast. So the rest of the world is not buying them bonds, and so they keep printing these derivatives, making them fungible instruments, and then claiming people's houses and stuff to try to pay off their debt. Now, what they're sacrificing the people through conversion, thus reversion of the state. Now, you understand why you do reversion of the state? Are we clear? Now, in relationship to the questions of the listeners, and I respect and appreciate the questions because we have to analyze to answer them. But what we want to do, and this is with all due respect, is when people ask questions that are first predicated on false information, you must correct that. You can't answer a question that itself is based in fraud without continuing the fraud. Do you understand? So it is not dismissing the questions, it is correcting the intention of what they're trying to ask. Because there's an assumption of ownership where it doesn't exist. There's an assumption that a deed is a title of ownership when it isn't. It's a sharecropping agreement. So persons are asking questions like they own, I bought this, and they're even making the statements they're lying. But they don't know that they're lying. You understand? And it's not that they mean any harm. They're dealing with the honor. Dad, I done worked for years, and my mom done worked, my dad done worked, and we own this. They don't know they've been sharecropping. Hard not. Except you've been played. Wake up. Start fixing this thing. And you cannot insist on saying that this thing that you thought you had as an education is an education. You've been played. Except you've been played. Now you're being educated. Do something with it. Teach someone who does not know. That will empower you. And you can't teach what you don't comprehend or understand. So once you understand it, you can teach it. It's not complex. The concepts are wrong. Accept that your concepts are wrong. You understand? Because if you maintain the ignorance, then it's arrogance. Then no one feels sorry for you. And then you're justified in the abuses that you get. Are we clear? But this is given to you, again, to let you know, inexcusably, when you assume that politicians don't know this, you're naive, not them. You know, get over yourself. Grow up, read again, study, show yourself approved, and strangle that straw man. That's what kills the dragon. Are we clear? Any more questions? Any more questions, y'all? So, and this is again where, and many of you already know, and when we give you the lesson books, they say as an example, you say, here's the treaty, the secret treaty of Verona. This is the congressional records. Again, this is for those who are not familiar, but most of you are familiar. And this is also when your so-called clergy in your communities that be leading all these different Negro organizations, and you think that they don't know this is their oath, this is the secret oath of all the clergy. And read this, y'all. Article 3. Convinced that the principles of religion contribute most powerfully to keep nations in the state of passive obedience, which they owe to their princes, the high contracting parties, declare to be their intention to sustain in their respective states those measures which their clergy may adopt with the aim of ameliorating their own interests, intimately connected with the preservation of the authority of the princes, and the contracting powers join in their offering their thanks to the Pope for what he has already done for them, and solicit his constant cooperation in their views of submitting the nations. So how many people keep saying that the clergy is submitting these people to Jesus, and they're lying all the time? How many reverends and clergy and bishops and pastors been telling people they've been submitting and delivering these people to Jesus, and here's their oath in the congressional records? So these people will go back and tell you what Prophet Muhammad did, what the Buddha did, and what Jesus did, and the Hebrews did, and they know all this. And all these people really work for the Pope of Rome, and then wonder why our communities are miserable. And then we sit around and talk about how saved we are. We're hypocrites and we're liars, and we're funding our own enslavement. So now that you know these things, do with it what you will, but you can't say that you weren't told. And meanwhile, those who've been abusing us is not sitting around feeling sorry for us because we insist on being ignorant and protecting the images of our black leader guys who keep selling us into slavery. And they call him the European white man, which is sovereign. They get mad at him because he acts like a sovereign after we assign him to that position, just because we can't damn read. And too arrogant to admit that we can't damn read. So we give you law books, and we command that you study when you come with us. We even put it on a flash drive. We give you 7 books of law in digital form so you can refer to it. So that saves you a couple thousand notes. And then show you these documents and put them on a flash drive and give it to you freely. What else are we supposed to do? And you don't change the language, and then we keep getting screwed. You don't come together in an organization, then you keep getting screwed. You don't set up protocol, and then you keep getting screwed. You're fighting a beast. When the information is given to you, it's your duty to give it to the people around you clearly, not in a controlling manner, but freely, and make sure they're clear on this, because that's what empowers you. Because when Rome comes to bite you, someone immediately in your area can come to your aid. And vice versa. Those are called protocols. Failure to set those protocols up. But we got all kinds of marching churches and organizations that we keep funding, don't we?
Yes.
Well, the world don't feel sorry for us because we keep on BSing. Any more questions? We get ready to close out?
No, but tell the people how we're expanding the whole line.
Give her the mic, because we were doing right.
So I guess I was going to do it.
Because you know you're talking soft.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to thank everybody. First of all, I want to thank Grand Chief Taj Tarik Bey. Going on 6 years
Yeah, 6 years.
of teaching here. Some of you just found out he was teaching here. Some of you seen videos though of him teaching here over different iterations. Sometimes there was an Egyptian scene on the back wall.
Yeah.
That was here too. Okay, but he's been here for 6 years, and I want to thank him for that. And I want to thank everybody for their, because over those 6 years, we've been in highs of participation, and we've had lows. I'm going to say we had about over 160 some viewers watching live all over the country, and probably outside of this country, because there are some Moors in London, I know that watch, because we correspond. So there's been over I saw over 300 and some odd shares of what was happening here in Wilmington, Delaware territory. So give yourselves a hand for this. I want to report that the last time we were here, which was 2 weeks ago, Brother Setimra was here, and I shared the fact, and Sister Delilah did excellent teaching. We had an issue with the hot water heater that Friday. I want to say that on Monday, a brand new hot water heater was put in the house of Real Way.
All right.
And the brother from Chicago territory, and Brother Driggins that put it in, but I know that's not his screen national name, but that's the name I can remember. But I'm grateful for him, for putting it in, and Sister Cass and Brother Isaiah, and everything they did to make sure it happened in a few short days. But I'm happy to announce that starting this month, we are expanding civics classes to every Friday, at least 4 Fridays. If there's a 5th Friday in the month, we're not going to do anything. You have to get one off. And I think every now and then we're going to have a 5th Friday. But so next Friday, we will be back here again. Hopefully, you all will come. Can you tell Brother Abdullah, tell him about him, because you know him.
Yes. Now, Brother Abdullah, he actually has degrees in sociology, etc. And years ago, over 20 years ago, they were preparing him actually for ministry. And he had come to Roundtable. I used to do our classes at my house for 3 days for years. And I used to feed people, give them free literature, etc. Anyway, Abdullah came there with my cousin, Jim, who's also a barber. My family's barbers. And he had just actually came there with Jim, and curious, but pretty much in a visitor's status. And of course, I have a little bit of that, dogmatic self-righteousness when you ask him questions and stuff. So I gave him a list of questions to take to his pastor, because I already know who he really is. But I already know people that are in that venue don't know. They think it's Jesus, and they're all, teary-eyed and hyped up, and I understood that. Anyway, so I sent him with about 7 questions, and matter of fact, when you come here, let me tell you about that. And within about 2 weeks, he left. Because as soon as he started asking those questions, I already knew what was going to happen. And Julie used to come to the house like on a regular basis, morning and to night, morning in between classes for years and years and years. And he's had his Teflon skates on ever since. And he's worked with me on exposing the lesson books. The beginning of the lesson books I actually prepared for my children. And Julie said, you need to get this stuff out to other people. Much of it is actually edited. They're not all text. But I also knew from the spirit realm the opposition that was out there. So I put the books out of sequence. And also knowing some of the dynamics that place in some books still out of sequence. There's the catch the dark priesthood that's on that side. But anyway, going beyond that, because it's a long story. But, and we produced a lot of literature since then. And when we had the Moabite Oasis, these are different newsletters and literature that we put out. Moabite Oasis, of course, the Civil Letter, which is still operative, which is his platform.
He's the editor-in-chief.
Yes, and the Al-Moroccan Star. And I wrote an article called Moors and Masonry. And Julie asked, because I actually had other literature and other texts that I did not publish. And so Julie asked me to use that for a book. And he produced this book, Moors and Masonry. And I tell you that that's one of the most important literatures of this last 50 years. You'll find it out yourself. It's a great reference book. And I'm not saying that just because we're, brothers and stuff like that, because it actually is. And we'll take people a long way. And he's been traveling the country, dealing with different lodges and Masonic orders and brothers and waking them up to the higher degrees, because most of the stuff they're giving in the lodges is allegorical, and we talk straight on. So he's made a lot of networking around the country, and there's also been a lot of people, Europeans and Asiatics, in lodges who indirectly reference ourselves, and give us support in the background without necessarily coming out. And also had a call from a very well-known comedian yesterday in California, who thanked me for the work that I'm doing. And there's a lot of people that know, but a lot of people, because of the political positions or sensitivities, can't always come directly out, but are clearly there, work, and appreciate the work. But Brother Abdullah is one of the best etymologists.
Islam.
One of the best
Islam.
etymologists,
Yeah.
and that's an honest statement. And understand, I'm not saying these things just because we're brothers. And he's taught thousands of children in Canaan public school systems. And he has 2 more books coming out this year. And I commend him, and you're going to have the honor of him coming here to the House of Grand on those other weeks that she's presenting to you right now. And Sister Roz will be here also.
On the 4th.
Yes. And so you're going to have the availability of a lot of literature too. So it's really going to be a plus. I suggest you come out and develop. And a lot of people, or those who are listening, if you're in the area, come to the House of Reawakening Minds. Make your presence here. And it's very important, because I'm not just giving it as a support, because it's true that I do understand the real politics of the plan. And because expenditures and conversions are being made on a heavy basis right now. And so where a lot of people are tentative with this information, not going to understand, because it causes a very strong change in the lifestyle. And so some people travel, but they have no idea of what's really going on in the background. And Abdullah is a true scholar and a true researcher. And for all those years, and even to this day, like I called Dooley yesterday, but Dooley, what's up? He said, I'm in the library, and we're not these other books, right? And Dooley studies and studies and studies. And in his book, he will give you multiple references. In the books to come, he will give you multiple references. Most time I'll speak to you on the things that you can refer to put you in the area, if you understand the issue started. But what I want you to do is become a scholar, just like that, so that you actually liberate and have knowledge on how to reference, how to cross-reference. But a lot of work that has been done for you that you will never get in any of these schools, any universities, or any lodges, be prepared for it. And I welcome you to welcome Brother Abdullah from you to share that information with you. And thank Dr. Nayola for opening up the venue and expanding the venue for that to happen, including the availability of the books with Sister Roz. And plus it will give you the opportunity to get more of this information from different perspectives. That's very important, so that it becomes your own. So I'm looking forward to that development and growth that will come about because of it.
We're also, just so you know, for those especially in the area, or not, I would say if you're in an hour or 2, then I'll call you in the area. But we're also looking at Sundays to school, where we do the 101,
Oh,
102.
That
So
would
actually, having that here at House of Reawakening Minds. And that's another expansion. As well, as I said the last time, this place, House of Reawakening Minds, is not my house. It's our house.
Islam.
And that means, those of you that are listening out there, I want to thank Brother El Mario, I watched the whole time he was promoting support of the House of Real Awakening Mind all through, all through. So, appreciate that. And if you could come out next week, because you're not used to coming here on the second Friday, let's greet Brother Abdullah.
And especially if you're in the area.
If you're in the area, you want to come, and he will be teaching from his book, Moorish and Masons, as a matter of fact. So speaking of that, so hopefully he'll have maybe copies of it.
And also try to bring somebody with you.
Yeah. So.
Because remember this, and this is very true. The more awakened people are who are around you, the more strength you will have. That's not a predication, that's a fact. And comprehend and understand, and particularly now, if you're going to see it before the year's out, you're going to need it more than ever. You're really going to need it more than ever. But understand, and this is very, very important, what you're dealing with is an organized body of criminals who have been pretending to be government since 1871. And they have successfully convinced people that they are a country and legitimate government and have been exercising sovereign powers that actually reverted back to the people who have not been in their proper person. Are we clear?
Yeah.
This is much of what this work is for, to restore that, because if you don't speak up, your estate is abandoned. And if it were not for the Chinese Masons stepping in, a lot of you may not be sitting in these seats today. And that's really the truth, but they intended to exterminate us quicker, although they're still doing it through food. So just
Speaking of food,
Mhm.
I have to thank Sister Abundance Child.
Bye-bye.
Drop Squad Kitchen. And before you all leave, because they're cleaning up, I know they got here a little late, but she has to run her own. She has a very thriving business down the river.
Yeah.
So before they completely pack up everything, please, premier vegan food in the state of Delaware. I mean, she's, they've had her written up in Delaware today, magazine, in the News Journal and all that. Awesome food, and she's our sister, Sister Abundance. So please don't leave without going over and getting some of that food before you go. And don't leave before you go over to my table where my gems and jewels are.
Oh yeah, remember, now y'all, when you come in, before we get settled in, start, because you already know we start off casually, make sure you walk over that table and look at some of the organites and the other jewelry that she has. And remember it's here, so remember to look for it. And also, because a lot of times people are looking for organites and other things and are not necessarily always aware that they're here. So just also pass the word on that.
Thanks.
All right?
Brother and sister who came right in and got their, and they're wearing their organite. It's time. So, and also just so you know that some of you have already purchased before, but I have sterling silver chains from 16 to 24 inches that I didn't have before.
Whoa.
So if you want to chain, put on the piece or put anything on it, I do have those in stock now.
All right.
Thank you so much. And hope to see you next week.
All right.
It's
Thank you. Peace and love, y'all.